Well, you've come to the right place.
Some time ago, me and a buddy were talking about the Souls games and how I've never beaten Bloodborne. Throughout all the games, it's been the only one that has ever drawn me in, whether it was art style, feel, or just the general idea of being a cool hunter. So, I talked to him about wanting to beat it, but just never feeling like I was fully understanding or I would get frustrated and I didn't know how to get past sections of the game that only felt harder. The furthest I remember getting by myself was Blood-Starved Beast. We spent about the next 30 minutes together with him educating me about the systems in the game, how important weapon level is, and your difficulty level ends up being about having enough levels to be comfortable. The most important information he gave me was just not to be too hard on myself. These games aren't presenting the information willingly. That's part of the experience. Eventually, he says we should do a co op playthrough, him guiding me through the areas, fighting bosses together, and most importantly, showing key upgrade material paths. So much of the game is completely missable, including the items to make the game easier. At first, I was a little iffy on doing this. Yes, it seemed like a good idea, but the Souls games have always had this idea of get good or you're not playing correctly. It's not you're misunderstanding something, you just don't get it. Eventually, he talks me into it and he teaches me an early way to get a +3 weapon before Father Gascoigne, which makes the rest of the coming chapters pretty easy until you meet your next upgrade wall. He's showing me where all the weapons are, special ways to fight monsters, saying, hey, did you try this? Make sure to pick that up. Oh, you should get +10 by now. By the time I realized it, I had already beaten the game. It felt so simple and never punishing when I compare what I used to play like to what I played like at the end of our sessions. Best way to describe this, my previous gameplay style was just being unprepared. After I beat the game, I'm above the wall, I'm screaming with joy, and then this inspires me to pick up my old Elden Ring save and go past Fire Gem, which I have been stuck on since the year of the game's release, and then I beat it. I did call other Tarnish for help, but that didn't feel that bad. I made it most of the way myself. The buddy and I get talking, he's like, yeah, you should just beat Bloodborne on your own now. You know what to do. You probably wouldn't even need the same weapon levels to get through it this time. And I'll be honest, I thought it was 100% him. Without his guidance watching my every step, I wouldn't have beaten it. Within the same 2 months, I'd beat the game again, this time doing all the DLC. I remembered why I liked this game so much. Time passes, he ends up gifting me Dark Souls Remastered. I've always talked about having this revenge run of the Souls series. A set of games that's get good mentality has always frightened me, making me draw the conclusion that I wasn't good enough. But I was. At least I was now. Download the game and embark on one of the worst works of the series. When fully deciding to make this video, I kind of cringed at the thought of playing the game again. I needed footage and a confirmation of my opinion. The first half of the game is getting over the difficulty hump, and a second playthrough turns that into getting over a resource hump. With my first trek through the game, it led me to rely on a lot of old habits from Souls games I've beaten. My over-reliance on bonfires, and originally flawed investment in Estus. I'm going to say something as close to the top, and say it again multiple times during the video. The big problem for this game is I didn't play it first. I also had the guidance of 2 encyclopedias worth of information and friends to guide me through sections I could have been lost in. I tried not to over-rely on them, but when it happened, it happened. I even purposely tried not to talk to them during my DLC run so my run wouldn't be too skewed, and the biggest information I got was a friend alluding to an item that made a boss easier. I'm saying this again at the top. If you haven't played any Souls game, with maybe the exception of Bloodborne and Demon Souls, if you go completely blind, there's a chance the cracks don't appear as big. I was spoiled by systems in every other game, which made the experience initially painful for me, like I was taking pills without water. It was the second run that not only confirmed my feelings, after playing the DLC, I'm doubling down. From's boss design went from challenge into gimmicks. This wouldn't be so bad if they didn't trick you into thinking it was a different game with the front half's boss design. It also is extremely easy to decipher what a good or bad boss was. If a boss required me to change my build, not for skill reasons, but because I lost the equipment load ring slot, it's a bad boss. If a boss has almost impossible to read attacks that require an item to block, it's a bad boss. If a boss is not a boss fight, but an obstacle course in a game without a dedicated jump button, it's a bad boss. Even if the base game had potential, I think what makes it feel so bad on follow-up is how much of it was squandered. Beating Ornstein Smough is the height of the DS1 journey. I will give points for Gwyn because if you miss your parry timings, it's a real fight. But if you don't, you're going to be bullying him worse than I did Lady Maria on my first attempt. But that's it. Half of the Lord Soul fights are disappointments, with the others rough edges trying to save face for their titles. In my initial write-up, as first impressions after beating the game, I wrote that I was confused this game got a sequel. This game was released in 2011 at a different time. I was 13 in middle school when this game came out, and there was absolutely no way I was playing this game over Birth by Sleep or the GTA PSP port. If I played this game when I was 13 in 2011, I would have broken my PS3. Or uninstalled, whatever sounds more interesting. Some people played this game in 2011, like a lot of people. Another thing I spoke about in my write-up was near the end I was really tired of asking for help. I love my encyclopedias, and this will be a little more expanded on in the DLC section, but eventually, even if they didn't play the game for me, despite how much execution there was on my end, it felt like it was more them doing it than I was. But what if I didn't know where to go? What if I didn't have access on information on what to do next? I classify myself as a struggle through it player. My main build was getting a twinkling titanite big sword that I could have fully maxed after getting to Anne Orlando. I focused on fast roll because it's what I know. Doing an attempt or two on 4 Kings medium rolling due to missing my usual armor with the loss of the Havel's ring, with one of those being the kill. On bosses, my usual strategy is to keep going until I can't. For any required boss fight that I've already beaten, this has mostly solved itself in the first couple of tries on my second run, with the key struggle points being 4 Kings and Gravelord Nito. I did do a run of Ornstein Smo, killing Smo first and fighting Big Ornstein, which is a pretty interesting fight. For my current description, you might think I was actually enjoying my time spent, and I was. Maybe there's an outlier or two at this point with examples in Ceaseless Discharge or Moonlight Butterfly, but genuinely, if you take nothing good from what I'm about to talk about in the game, take these next parts to heart. I'm going to speak a little bit more about my favorite Souls game and why it's unfair for me to compare it to this game. Bloodborne's healing system is actually perfect. Each blood vial works similar to the main game's Estus. This item has a soft cap of 20. Most people keep a decent vitality stat, but let's say that means you can get hit around 20 times. You can then invest what are basically the ring slots of Bloodborne to carry 32. The drawback as such is losing out on your ring slots for much more powerful items, things like increased stats, damage, and increased blood echo gathering for faster levels. My first and second playthrough, the investment into 4 extra blood vials was extremely helpful due to my aggressive playstyle, but I'm skipping over something here. This is not the only way to recover health. The game itself rewards aggression over passive play, which for people who haven't played the game might shock them. These hordes of beasts and Lovecraftian enemies are meant to frighten, not reward you for hurting them. Shortly after taking damage, your health bar will show less HP and show the amount you've lost, which by attack you can then recover that HP. Those previous 20 mistakes turn to a lot more if you're beating the game on its terms. Now, I've only beaten Dark Souls 1, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring, and have progression in the other mainline games. Of course, the later entries in the series healing are just different solutions to the problem. I love the life gen system now, because it's a great use to not overspend Estus out of combat. It's not reliable on-demand healing, but it doesn't have to be. Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring focus on giving you more Estus. This isn't my favorite solution, but it's serviceable for these games. Something I wanted to make sure I do before I was mean to the game was complemented. Dark Souls 1 has the second best healing in the series. The way healing works from a resting position at most bonfires, you start with 5 Estus charges. The amount can change one of 3 ways. If you rest at a bonfire protected by a firekeeper, you get 10 Estus. If you rest at the Lord Vessel bonfire, you can get 20. If you invest humanity into a bonfire, any bonfire, you can have 10 Estus that turns into 20 after an early boss. The only issue, and this is I played the game last issue, is how slow healing feels. But with this game, it doesn't really matter. Everything is slow, so it matches pace. It becomes choose where you need the Estus the most. For the first fight in the DLC, I really wanted not to enhance bonfires with humanity, because I knew the moment I did, I'd have enough healing to take more of the attacks. I say it became more of a crutch than a tool. This could have been lasting effects from the other games in the series, or I was bad. Another time this felt like more of an issue than a good thing is in the Artorias fight. The biggest reason I felt that I was struggling was due to me walking in with so much Estus and getting caught on an attack I was trying to heal. I'll explore this more in the DLC section, but being punished in these attempts was more of a teaching moment in learning boss combos and how they flow into each other. I was presuming and getting greedy, and that's not how the game is meant to be played. I found the biggest barrier to understanding and enjoying a Souls game is without a doubt its combat. If you played any other game, especially an action game, Dark Souls feels slow. Like, really slow. This is more a misinterpretation of the most key feature of the game. Yes, I said it's a feature. Combat in this game is about action economy. If you've ever played D&D, that's a common phrase to talk about the max actions a character can make during a turn. The DM, usually, has a higher action economy due to controlling multiple characters at once. Remember that, by the way. The DM of this game is the world itself, and each enemy has their own sliding scale of moves that combo into other moves and layers on top of each other. You as the player have a limited moveset that is dictated by your stamina bar. Your actions include attack, cast, dodge, use, and heal. Your turn is reset while your stamina recharges enough to use another action. You could cut a turn short by acting before your stamina bar is fully recharged, but this puts you in a questionable position of being unable to do follow-up attacks or heal or get away. DS1 is extremely to the book by these rules when it comes to you. It is also at its best when the world is following the same rules as well. I found like a lot of the earlier demon boss fights all follow this idea to its best form. However, this game does not follow its own rules. Sometimes that's a good thing, mostly it's not. The good of this system is really good. A good example of bosses that do this amazing are all the demon fights, and of course, Ornstein and Smo. Asylum Demon is a great fight. I'd even say his reskins barely feel like reskins with the expanded movesets giving an enemy that struggle with range a range extension to their attacks, then forcing muscle memory to the fight to be challenged. The thing I love, especially comparing it to Elden Ring, is the bosses that are reused, instead of just being the exact same boss, are now having a legitimate place in the world. Before we hit Hot Lake City, that's a horrible joke, I'm gonna say I thought it felt really cool seeing the draining of the lava lake and seeing multiple Taurus and Capra demons sprinkle around through the space. Speaking of space, I think the exploration and level design before the access to fast travel is impeccable. I would say the closest thing I've experienced to it in a Souls game was how the path felt like the long, uncut journey you can have in Bloodborne, but the locations circle into themselves. I love that you could go from Undead Bird to Sin's Fortress, trek through multiple shortcuts, and bring you right back to Firelink. I loved how the hub actually felt like a hub. After I beat the game for the second time, I looked at the map on how things are connected to Firelink, and I was shocked. This was amazing, and I just wish they expanded on these things more in the later half. Almost to the point, I wish they built it as if fast travel wasn't in the game, and it only makes me wonder what kind of game that would have looked like. Don't get me wrong, saying the arenas and spaces in the later half of the game are boring is unfair. I've taken enough space from the game to admit it. Yes, Seif's Library and the depths of Crystal Cave look cool, and when I could see it, the spookiness of the Tomb of Giants, the tight corners into what I could only describe as the animated bones of the devil's favorite dog. Oh, there are multiple. The animated bones of the devil's favorite dogs. The only issue is that these spaces end up feeling so disconnected from the main path. It's not that I think the design is flawed, but from previous areas I see the fall in quality. Yes, I could ultimately just backtrack through most of these levels, but I could always do that. Once you're at this point, the interconnectivity is lost in these spaces and it feels like a disappointment. I want you to answer something for me. How do you kill this boss? Upon entering the Duke's Archives and riding the elevator, you will go into a boss arena and meet Seif the Scaleless. This was my first boss after defeating Ornstein Smo, and not the only time I fought him like this. While my encyclopedias and Souls guides were extremely helpful, I'm glad I fought this alone to not change my view of the experience. For non-players of the game, you probably see the small lifted area and assume you get up there. Nope. Another option is to try shoot him with an arrow or cast magic. Nope. This boss is immune to all damage. Alright, look at the video again. I don't scan it very well, but required information is in the video. Got a good look? Okay, you cannot kill this boss in this arena. This arena is for you to fail. My first playthrough had me legitimately confused. Why did the game present this as a boss? In a game where the health bar means you can kill this here and now, this is pretty painful. The real way you kill Seif is by solving his puzzle and where his invulnerability body part is. After multiple attempts on my first playthrough to kill Seif, I was shackled with the idea that I was doing the fight wrong, and I was. I think this level is also designed pretty poorly because you can then retry the incorrect fight as much as you want. Once this invulnerability part is cut, the world will remember this action and you no longer have to break it, turning it into a regular fight. Remember this, please. The nail in the coffin of this fight is Seif is obviously not a good up-close fighter. In moments like this, I wonder if I did a magic run, maybe I would have enjoyed this more. Sadly, I won't know because I won't be playing this game a third time. But FromSoft is a good developer. Surely they wouldn't make another situation like this. This is a one-time action. Of course they did it again. This boss is the one that made me want to make the video. In the Bed of Chaos fight, it pretends to be another puzzle, where it's more of a tedium interactive cutscene. Your combat skill means almost zero here. There are 3 points of interest being protected by orange energy spears. In each spear bar, the middle one is a set of branches leading to a bigger trunk. Once a trunk is attacked, a cutscene plays. After the cutscene, the large stable arena begins to crumble and parts of the floor disappears. Your goal now is to get to the other side of them, break the other trunk, and inspect the middle area. However, if you die, based on all information from every other boss to that point except Sif, you start from zero and do it all again. That is not how this fight works. Any progress made on the tree limbs endures through further attempts. I can jump through some hula hoops to make this work in my head. A key thing is you're not actually damaging the boss, just whatever protects it. The Bed of Chaos is a small bug demon on fire in the hearth of the tree. Like I said, there's only one other thing that doesn't reset back after being broken, Seep's invulnerability pike. There's probably a good lore reason, but I don't think a Vati video explaining the lore of the Grand Duke's library in Los Izalith would be any comfort in these design decisions. Okay, what is actually the problem here? It's that it is a cutscene, that this is a long cutscene interaction with what I'm going to say is net zero skill expression. Once both trunks are handled, it's a simple run forward with a few dodges to get to the middle area. A few branches broken, you are faced with the Bed of Chaos, and you attack. And that's it. They're dead. This fight is not good. There are multiple lackluster boss fights in the game. Moonlight Butterfly, Seif the Wolf, Centipede Demon. Most of these fights don't fail at being boss fights though, with the closest thing to Bed of Chaos being Moonlight Butterfly. Its entire fight is about getting through its set of attacks, and then they rest to allow you to attack them. I think that fight is a whatever, but an okay early fight. I'm not a game developer. My closest experience with game dev was over 10 years ago on a pirated version of RPG Maker. I got so lost in making characters, I never even made a map. I'm not a game developer. I would have rather fought Moonlight Butterfly again, and maybe it would have been a more serviceable fight. My best idea to keep the same theme of Bed of Chaos is which each phase is breaking a trunk. After you break a trunk, it would create an opening to the boss in which you could hit them until either a shield spawns to protect them, prompting you to go and try and break the other trunk, or it ejects you and closes the opening like it was cauterizing a wound. Each phase, it could destroy more of the map and still get more aggressive with the fire and tree hands spawning from the destruction of more trunks like a Hydra. I would even allow it to be a time window for attacks instead of a damage window, so if you're properly optimized or overleveled, you could just kill on the furnace opening. This rewards players based on when you engage the boss. If the Bed of Chaos is your last of the Lord Soul fights, it will be an easier fight. But if you struggle through hell, this fight literally takes place in hell. If you struggle through hell, through bone dragons, through lava, through moving statues, and demon tentacle things, you deserve a real fight. Just like the rest of the Lord Soul fights, Nito is a boss of all time. The difficulty of the boss fights is not in Nito themselves, but the arena of never-ending skeletons that are just going freak mode on you. This fight has a little more nuance than Four Kings because Nito can and will harm the skeletons with multiple large wiping moves. As far as I can tell, all of Nito's moves can hurt the skeletons, and making this fight about getting reprieve by making Nito temporarily reduce his own army. I think this is an interesting and really well-balanced encounter. It has the space to be jumped by all various forms of bone break dancers, but it also has the added skill expression of well-placed spacing to force Nito to give you the space to breathe you need to keep tempo of this fight. This fight has grown on me a lot. Even though I don't like doing it, I could see the space of improvement that can turn this from a struggle to something beautiful. I never felt like I mastered Four Kings. None of my attempts got a Fifth King sadly, but certain attacks it made were just met with me health tanking with Estus and taking the trade. The biggest highlight in the fight is when you don't control the pace, you will be surrounded by enemies that are not easy to defeat. I understand my approach on my initial playthrough was flawed. I was used to playing slow, and I was punished here by being overwhelmed by enemies. They have a fairly limited moveset, as most of the Lord Soul fights do, but I think this performs pretty well in the context of the encounter. This while having the worst debuff to build crafting so far, which is the loss of a ring slot, which is half the ring slots, is so easily countered with just requiring the ring to be on when you land. After that, just remove the need for it in the fight, and people can use their regular build and no harm is done to the fighter or the player. This is without a doubt the best of the Lord Soul fights, with Nito being second, Bed of Chaos and Seif sharing a slot for last place. But I haven't spoken about the worst or best boss of my playthrough just yet. The DLC has 4 bosses, 6 if you count the 2 optional Sanctuary Guardians. This DLC had me rewatch a lot of footage due to a weird feeling. Are the bosses pausing? This is some wacko shit if you've never seen it before. The action economy thing was more of a metaphor at first when I watched the DLC footage back. It was almost like the bosses were running out of stamina. The attack strings would happen, of course, in the same way as other bosses, but the only boss that felt like it would intentionally stop attacking as if it was recovering stamina was Gravelord Nito. This could be part of the red string talk coming up in the menace section. Playing back footage, I found enemies in the DLC section felt unfamiliar not in terms of difficulty, just in how the enemies engage. I don't know how to explain this feeling, but it's not about it being a good or a bad thing. I'm going to talk about the boss fights in order with two bosses position swapped for a reason. Sanctuary Guardian was the fight that gave me hope that I was adjusting to the game well. This was the boss that I knew I could have beaten without kindling the fire, but I ended up doing so knowing that I would clear it faster. This boss is anti-cheap shots, something I love. There are multiple attacks that are much more about punishing overstanding or thinking a move is over. Regardless of how much I don't like that the lightning bolt can double hit with the circle, it's an easy way to throw off my dodge timing. I'd even built muscle memory on how to dodge ram slams. That was not something I expected in about 20 minutes of attempts. Matched with the boss's aggression was something I hadn't felt for the entire game until that point. His headbutts had me counting and giving space that was only met with him closing the gap, making this feel just so cool. After succumbing to my failures, I ended up, as I said, kindling the fire and killed him that attempt. Artorias is the best fight of the DLC. I'd almost say it's one of the best fights so far I've experienced in the entire series. With only 10% of the jank and one attack that is mirrored by Manus and a short shotgun shot of Spit. Don't worry, we'll talk about him soon. I would say the other 90% of his attacks are telegraphed enough where the last second to react to something feels real and rewarding. He also punishes really well in poorly timed healing and dodges. In his arsenal attacks, there is a DMC Stinger attack that, if you reactively dodge too early, punishes any attempt at the matter. It almost feels like his purpose is to unteach the lessons you come to learn in the base game. You're not fighting these puzzles or the failures to be bosses that come before this. He fights like a real person, or at least something with a more active will to fight. No, a more active will to live, something that a lot of the enemies you face just don't have. It's unlikely this is programmed. I refuse to get more red string. But his punishes don't feel random, they feel earned based on your attacks. I loved this fight, only being disappointed in it after I had beaten it. Now for the bad. I'm 90% sure my kill was bugged. I've been told Artie doesn't have phases, and I don't believe this and will continue to refer to them as such. There are 13 section parts of the health bar, within those being another 5 subsections. After dealing 2 sections of damage, he would then be put into his second phase, going from his previous 3 hits to kill you damage to 2 hits to kill you damage. As low as I found, about 6 sections and 1 subsection, the boss can enter its third phase, turning 2 hits to kill you damage into about 1 hit to kill you damage. On my winning attempt, Artorias didn't go in his second phase as he usually would. He made the move backward to get away from me to phase change and then did a diving attack. After showing editors the kill, he thinks he did the attack because I healed and it must have taken priority over the phase change. He then went to 35.88% of his health bar, not going into his third phase doing 1-shot damage, instead going into his second phase doing 2-shot damage. This made the fight extremely more forgivable, especially if you remember he has an increased aggressiveness and additional strings to his previous phase movesets in each phase transition. This was my first attempt at him for the day. I woke up early before work and decided to give it another hour of attempts. When it was over, I mostly sighed. This was the biggest moment I had to have a third playthrough. I've stayed firm in my decision of not playing the game again this year, but I feel cheated that the fight didn't work properly and I don't have the satisfaction of actually overcoming this boss. Now, quickly, because I don't have a lot to talk about Calamity, I want to get it out of the way. I hope I don't sound like I'm floundering on my opinion. This is the only fight that I feel is too telegraphed. I fought them after Manus, so maybe the difficulty change skewed my vision, but saying this is an easier fight than him is like saying Kingdom Hearts story is made difficult on purpose to make the job of lore experts worse. He overcommits similarly to other bosses and just leaves a lot of space to watch him finish his move and punish while he's recovering. I have no idea what I would want to change about this fight, but as far as I know, this can be the last fight of the DLC, and honestly, it should have been after Artorias or Sanctuary Garden, because it was just a poor follow-up after the final boss. I am not a Souls expert, so these next sentences are based on feeling and not fact. When I did the first boss, I thought I was overleveled. I was chunking these enemies way too fast and instilled a lot of false confidence, something only lost in the Manus fights. After defeating Artorias, my attempts at Manus gave me an undying urge to see if I could analyze the frames I took damage versus how many seconds I had to react while playing the DLC. I didn't do this because with the several hours I spent on Manus, I think there would be 2 extra pages of the script being just me with red string pointing at screenshots. The script before writing this section was 80% done. I had to fight 4 kings and Gwyn, and the main game would be done. At first, I stated plainly to friends before making the video, I would do the DLC in 2026, because more DS1 was not on my list of things to do. I changed my mind after I wanted to make the video, but nothing ever made me hate this game more than Manus. Oh, From Software, you beautiful, bullish, evil people. How did you create a good boss and then place excrement all over its face? Why is this boss wasted on such a... Hold on, I have to see if I sweared before this. Alright, I did in the pausing section. This is horse shit. The good. Manus has really well telegraphed but fast attacks. It feels bad to get caught by an attack because of how clear he is when he does them. I think this is a good thing, because the first 3 runs is getting caught by attacks that you very clearly see and keeps this theme throughout all melee attacks. In later runs, I was either low energy or just woken up, and I found myself getting caught by attacks I had to take a step back and practice more patience, only then getting deeper into the fight. Manus also feels like something you haven't faced before. The space itself feels foreign, including how you traverse to it, forgetting any path you've taken past the frog door, waking in the arena. His body is foreign, the shape is odd, and you'll fight monsters and demons, but they only belong to the Abyss. This is their creator, the originator, the father of the Abyss. The arena most likely didn't need it, but I felt more comfortable with the sunlit maggot to brighten the space. One thing about me is I'm extremely easy to scare. The meh. This fight has the worst damage discrepancies I felt from any boss I fought this playthrough. This is expanded in the bad section, but the number 1 offender on this list being the juggle attack, which main damage is front-loaded on whatever of the early attacks in the combo hit you. The follow-up attacks sometimes not even doing half that damage. The reason this isn't the bad is because for some reason once the boss misses the first 2 attacks, he becomes face and animation locked to finish this combo. I'm not a game developer. This has to be the easiest fix in the world. Just don't get punished for getting hit late. You could actually reverse how the damage happens in its current form, making the last 3 attacks do the most damage, and it hasn't really changed anything at all, but it's not a mid-attack that doesn't even matter if you don't get hit by it. Oh, and for the boys that like difficulty, let him stop the combo. He has to know he's juggling dirt, and not me. The bad. Manus has 2 phases. One with primarily physical attacks, and his final phase with a mix between his melee attacks and darkness magic. He has 3 new attacks, a wide-range shotgun blast, a hailstorm attack, and the one I coined the Xemnas attack from Kingdom Hearts 2, where he summons darkness bolts to surround you and then converge on your position, attempting to collapse on you. I have not forgotten what game I've been playing. I really need that to be heard before I express any more of my opinion on this fight. These 3 attacks have the worst offense I've ever seen in the game, almost throwing out the window any attempt at balance. During it, I felt bad. I actually thought I would never beat it. I'm saying it again, I'm not expecting these games to play fair. I'm expecting them to be in the realm of reason of what it deems to be okay. Before seeing the counters to the Xemnas attack, I actually thought both it and the shotgun blast you were supposed to take damage. I tried every dodge timing that made sense. If you know how to dodge the Xemnas attack, keep it to yourself for just a little bit. In my own, this became exacerbated. Over 2+ hours attempts with multiple getting far but losing to attacks I couldn't prepare for. I do something that might be frowned upon, but I don't regret it. I think obviously people have defeated this boss, so maybe, just seeing the dodge timing, I could finish the fight. And then I watched someone equip a pendant and reflect the dark magic. I will not be convinced this is good. Any attempts at such will be seen as gaslighting. Immediately, I killed Manus on my 2nd attempt after getting the silver pendant. This is bad. This is worse than just bad. A friend of mine and I were speaking, and he asked me if the issue was there wasn't an NPC saying along the lines of, "Oh, Manus has one weakness, this silver pendant," and the NPC hands me the pendant. I said no. The existence of the pendant itself is the issue. Why are these attacks programmed to be countered or bust? I'm serious. So far, other than prayer, the best idea I've found to dodging everything but hail is to just take damage. I actually regret not recording my face cam for these videos, because I need to see the look on my face watching that video of the guy just reflect these attacks that have just been mostly killing me. I'm rambling. I'm really upset. The simple problem is that the pendant exists and the fight is balanced around it existing. These attacks aren't supposed to be dodged. That's it. That's the only message the game is sending with the existence of this pendant. This boss with attacks that are supposed to be dodged, like every other boss in the game, has a repel item that renders a phase change useless. I'm upset writing this. I'm upset watching it. What were they thinking? What were the devs thinking? Now, experienced people in the game know there is a way to dodge the attacks with watching the animations for each of the magic attacks. Using my buddy the editor's footage on his Soul Level 1 plus 0 run, he shows each way to dodge the magic attacks. For the shotgun blast, when this boss steps back to charge it, the plan is to strafe to the side, leaving space for a reactionary dodge, most likely the second after it's fired. This is similar to the plan for the Hailstorm attack, which involves getting distance and spamming dodges backwards until it's over. Then the Xemnas attack. My first reaction watching editors dodge this killed me. Watching it again after he sent me the footage had me on my knees. If you have not played the game, I've paused the video and I'm asking you to think to yourself, how do you dodge this? A. You dodge the attack as it comes towards you, like most attacks in the game. B. You run toward the boss and the attack collides on itself and fizzles out. C. You pray. Okay, you got your answer. The correct answer is B. Next follow-up question. How do you reasonably come to that conclusion in a playthrough? This is my first time playing this DLC. 3+ hours of this boss, and tell me, how do you find the solution? Luckily, I have the clip of me reacting to editors dodging the attack with me stammering in confusion looking at it. For a reasonable fight, you should use the pendant. If I wouldn't want an NPC saying, hey, you need this pendant. Oh, that's how it works? No, I'm why would I'm going to be extremely generous. Let's pretend there is no dodging in the game. There is no stamina bar. You are just able to walk. Wouldn't the best idea be just to run away? Too bad. It surrounds the entire arena. Let's be even more generous here. Can you just try to block the attack? Which, by the way, doesn't explain how to dodge the attack. It looks like you just take damage without the pendant. The damage reduction is so negligible, I'm not even sure it happened. I've watched the footage of the fizzle out from editors close to 20 times now, and my heart just hurts. I'm just so angry. After speaking with editors, the counter he found, at least for surviving the shotgun blast, was just to out-heal the damage while having a very high vit stat and a strong armor that made him mid-roll. Mid-rolling is a build choice to me that was a higher cost than benefit. This worked with him on the Xemnas attack, and I don't know. Maybe I was wearing the worst armor in the game. If someone's a DSR expert, tell me in the comments the armor I could wear that I could just fast roll and take the hit. I am not a game developer. You've heard me say that multiple times by now, and it's true. Just because I have an idea does not mean it's the best or even a good idea. Reducing the damage feels like an overstep. I will want the pendant to go from 0 damage taken to 30 to 50% of the damage taken, and slightly changing the frame timing so that these attacks feel dodgeable. It is the biggest buff to the player that keeps it within reason of the game. If I can't have that, just make the Xemnas attack dodgeable. That's all I need. I will concede that the shotgun blast is okay in its current form, even though I don't actually feel that way. The Hailstorm, once you have the dodge timing down, is even more forgivable. Just don't make an immunity button for what is his name? The Father of the Abyss. Man, it's the Father of the Abyss has an immunity button for his phase change. This isn't real. It can't be. Now that I've soiled my experience knowing the actual solution to these patterns, I can't even feel good about doing this, even if I did a third playthrough, which is not happening. Near the end of my second playthrough, I was talking to a buddy while in the kiln on the first flame, and he presented the idea that maybe I was spoiled or my journey didn't have the same glamorous effect as others because I had help. So many people held the game in high regard because they struggled through it by themselves, and the experience was enhanced because of that. I don't know how much I agree with the validity of this. So far, I've not completed any of the Souls games with zero help, with maybe a caveat to Elden Ring. The game even has a system that encourages asking for help from complete strangers, but it feels disingenuous to compare a limited to that area help wanted sigil to 2 people watching over my shoulder as I beat the game. I wanted to explore this more because maybe he's right. Whenever I start Dark Souls 2, I'm going to keep the help request to 0 so I experience the game on its terms, whatever they might be. After the conversation, I walked into the Gwyn boss fight. I parried him back to back. He died. I linked the flame. I felt the same feeling I felt after beating the game for the first time. I didn't feel triumphant. I wasn't satisfied. I was just glad it was over. I don't hate this game. That actually took a lot more to write than you might imagine. This is so far the worst Souls game I've played, and it's curious how something released before Elden Ring could have the same random drops in quality. It feels weird seeing these connecting pathways that just stop being multiple overlap circles and turn into straight lines. Don't draw that image in your head. There is something here. I don't know if I lost that feeling deeper into my playthrough, but that feeling of fighting Artorias and learning the patterns, then getting what felt like a fake kill is the best definition of my experience on this game. Fighting so much good that is lost in those caves. I will not be doing a third playthrough, not because of the jank, not because of the cutscene bosses, not even because of Manus. At this point, I'm just so disillusioned with the idea of having fun doing it. I'm afraid I couldn't even enjoy the parts I liked. Hi, thank you for watching the video. A lot of this ending section is just going to be me thanking people, and I would really like for you to stick around. I'm going to be talking about sources, stuff like that. All sources will be in the description, of course. The biggest things I had written down for more along the lines of closing thoughts were to talk about the Zuli the Witch video. Zuli the Witch has a video talking about Bed of Chaos that came out from what YouTube said about a year ago. The reason I waited to watch that video was I wanted to make sure I didn't have any outside influences affecting me while I was writing the script. My friends, of course, watched me play the game, but they had almost zero input on the script except for editors clarifying on one of the dodge techniques for the shotgun blast. I originally wrote it as dodge backward, and he was like, no, you need to fully get out of the range. It's about getting fully out of the range. It was 2 points that I had not even thought about. uh One point was how long it takes to get back to the boss is one of the reasons they think that it has like saved progress, and I actually never thought about that. Making the treks have never actually like mattered to me, but I don't know what that is. That might be something completely different, and I'm just like overreacting or underthinking. But yeah, I should write a script to this. I'm not writing a script. Another point of contention that they make in the video is how rushed Lost Izalith was, almost to the point like there is in-game files of a more active version of the tree boss that just ended up not being used, and they wonder if that could have made it in the game or maybe made it a saving grace. They even commented that maybe Bed of Chaos is a much more interesting fight in a game like Elden Ring or a game like Sekiro because of the increased movement capabilities, which I didn't personally think of. I think that might be it, especially if the boss could move. If the boss could actively like move around, I think Bed of Chaos is actually saved. I really liked watching that video. It's a very short, like 3 or 4 minute video, and if you haven't seen it, please give it a watch. A big ass thank you to VGC Cartography. I might have said that wrong. VG Cartography. I spoke to them through DeviantArt. I made sure I had permission to use their image because the image was super, super, super cool. Uh, I looked at a lot of Lordran maps, and they were a lot of like 3D versions of the map, whereas I really wanted something like a very, very 2D stylized version of it, and that version of the map that they did was amazing, and I loved it. Of course, thanks to the encyclopedias, editors, and Puffy. uh, I probably should reach out to Puffy. Puffy ends up giving me a link or anything to link to. I'll make sure to put it in the description. But Editors has a Twitch channel, especially where they do Souls Challenge runs or just playing games. They're a phenomenal gamer, and he's super tall. That is another comment about him. but his input, especially on the finalized version of the script, after watching the like kind of front half of the video that I sent him, he's been extremely helpful, and I don't think I would have finished it without him. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much, editors. More closing thoughts, just about the game. If you watch this video and think I am saying your favorite game is bad, then I have truthfully failed. I have actively failed. I could not get this across more, and I feel like this is not said enough in media and any media discussion. Just because someone doesn't like something doesn't mean it's bad. And I hope that you could get the feeling that I do like this game. I really don't like parts of the game, and it hurts me, and in ways I kind of regret playing it and not just seeing it in a light of, well, if everyone loves this game, maybe it's a great game. And it is. I think Dark Souls 1 is a really good game, but it is certainly extremely rough around the edges. And you see it. You see it in how certain boss fights are designed. You see it in how simple some fights are and how beautifully complex others are. You see it just in how much love is actually in the game. I couldn't imagine a game that, if it was as rushed as people tell me, that connects so well on the first half. I could never imagine anything like that releasing in the last 10 years, or probably the last like 20 if I'm honest, that had the development time, that had not been rushed. This is an art form that is completely lost to this day, that I have not found in the games I've been playing. The space, the world, the enemies, the character of it is amazing. I can't overstate that. I wish I could, but I can't overstate that. Like my friend said, maybe if I played this game on release, or maybe if I went in with zero help, maybe there was too many things working against me to give this an objective view. I tried, especially with the DLC, I really tried, but at the end of the day, I'm glad I ended up seeing that guy's video with with the pendant. I'm happy, because I don't think I think I would have given up on Manus and probably scrapped the video altogether just because of that. Because I know for a fact I would have had to beat the DLC, or I would have had to gone back and do something, and I just mentally couldn't. So I'm glad I got that. I watched that guy's video with the pendant. All in all, completely said, I do not think Dark Souls 1 is a bad game. At the current time of recording this, I am in my Dark Souls 2 journey. I'm currently stuck and I don't know where to go. And I originally planned to have my Dark Souls 2 character sitting in an arena, and I would record my character sitting down over here. And that was the original idea. I was like, someone's gonna see the video and then they're gonna leave a comment and I'm gonna know. I stuck to my friend's challenge of no outside help at all, no looking up guides, no looking at the wiki, no looking at videos of it, and I'm just sticking to the challenge of it. The funnier part is Dark Souls 2, outside of Elden Ring, is the game I have the most progression in, that I haven't beaten, and I find that ridiculously funny, because I remember nothing at all about so many sections of the game. Like I'm like finding stuff. I'm like, there's absolutely no way I've ever been here before, and it's been an experience. I don't know if I would like rank it as the like best or worst, or like move it anywhere in the tier list of the games I've played but not beaten, but it's opened my eyes, and I definitely see a lot of where the sentiment comes from, especially that adaptability stat. Like, who made that? Like, who who made that? I don't even know what it does, but someone like so one of my friends was like coping. He was like, maybe your adaptability's low. And I know he was memeing me. I know for a fact he was memeing me, but I had to boost it just because of that. Oh my god, the Discord streams with my friends watching me play the game and giggling is absolutely destroying my soul. Like I'm barely here, guys. That's where I'm at right now. If you made it this far, thank you for watching the video. I don't know if a Dark Souls 2 video is ever going to happen. I don't even know if I'm going to make another video for this channel, but I feel good about writing this. I feel good about where this ended up being. I hope you guys liked it, and thank you for giving me some of your time. I wonder how the Truman Show ending goes. If I don't see you again, have a good morning, good afternoon, and good night.